If you want to be more focused every single day, there are two things that you do need to respect. And I mean respect. Those two things are your calendar and your flagged tasks. Now, I help a lot of people through my coaching program to get themselves better organized and be more productive. Now, when we start going through their task manager, one of the things that I frequently see are flagged tasks, like flagged as in the most important tasks that are overdue, like not just 1 or 2 days, but 3 or 4 weeks overdue. Now, therein lies a problem, because if you're adding a flag to a task and then just ignoring the flag, then don't use flags, because they just confuse things and they start to mentally drain you, because you start thinking, what's wrong with me? Why can't I do this? Why am I not doing these tasks? What you need to do is to bring a little bit of clarity into your day by only flagging tasks that are due today, that are genuinely important. But the second part of this is the calendar. Now, what I often see are calendar events on people's calendars, and you've got 3 or 4 events at the same time. Now, it is impossible to be in 3 places at once attending 3 meetings. When you ever have a conflict on your calendar, the first thing you need to do is to address it. You need to get on top of it immediately, just out of respect for the people who are requesting meetings with you. So for instance, if you've got a meeting at 9:30 on Tuesday morning with one of your clients, you've also got an internal meeting with your boss or with a colleague. Now, you cannot be in 2 places at once. Pick one. Which is the one that is the most important? Which is the one that's going to give you the results that you are looking for? Now, it could be that you just need to have a quiet word with your boss and just say, I'm sorry, I have a meeting with a client at that time. Can we reschedule that meeting for another time in the day? Now, we live in the 21st century. This is not the 1990s. And so we should accept that our bosses are a lot better than they were in the 1990s, I think. Well, at least I hope they are. And thought, I can't imagine a boss saying, no, you cancel the appointment with your important client and you speak to me. Well, that would be a very irresponsible boss, and I would be questioning, why am I working in this company with bosses like that? But that's beside the point. The thing is, if you've got conflicts in your calendar, then your calendar again becomes completely useless, because you don't really know where you need to be. Do I go to that meeting or that meeting? Or do I go to that conference? Or do I go out there? And no. You need to get on top of your calendar. Now, the places to do this is when you do the daily planning. Now, I do get it. I know why most people are flagging tasks and then ignoring them. What we're doing is we're flagging tasks that are difficult, that we've already been rescheduling time and time again, and we know we've got to do them. So we flag them in the hope that adding a flag will give us the motivation and the incentive to actually go and do the task. But then the day comes and we ignore the task and ignore it again and again and again. That's not the way to use flags. The way to use flags is when you do the daily planning sequence. And the daily planning sequence is very, very simple. You look at your calendar for your events for today. That's going to tell you how much time you actually have available for doing tasks. Once you've done that, you write out the tasks that you want to do today. Now, you can do that on paper, which is a solid way of doing it. Or you can add a date to the task in your task manager. Now, if you're clever and you're kind of doing your weekly planning every week, most of your tasks that are due today will already be dated. And at that point, you can add your flags to prioritize your day. Now, one tip on flags: don't ever add more than 3 flags per day. Now, 2 is the ideal, and I did a test several years ago to see where could I be 100% consistent in actually doing my flag task, and it was 2 tasks per day. However, there are occasions when, perhaps for whatever reason, you need to have 3. But do not add more than 3 tasks. Now, once you add more than 3 tasks, it just becomes another overwhelming list that you are probably not going to do. And I'm always reminded of that famous saying that if everything is important, then nothing is important. And this is the approach that you want to have with your flags. So when you do the daily planning sequence, you know where your appointments are, you've cleared any conflicts, and you start to prioritize your task list for the day. That's when you would add your flags. Now today, being the day that I record my YouTube videos, my flag task is record and edit YouTube videos. That's it. I have 1 flag today because it takes up a lot of time. It takes about 3 to 6 hours, depending on how many videos I record. Therefore, I'm not going to be getting any other tasks done other than my communications, emails, messages, etc., and the basic admin that I need to do every day. That's it. That's all I'm going to have time for today. But it is a massive amount of work when I think about it, because this YouTube video hopefully will help hundreds, if not thousands of people. That's my goal today. So my flagged task is to actually get this video recorded. Now, some digital task managers allow you to add more than 1 flag. For instance, Todoist gives you 3 flags. Well, they give you 4, but it's really 3. They have a P1 for priority 1, which is a red flag. They have P2, which is orange, which is basically the second priority. And they have P3, which is a blue flag. Now, the way I do this is my red flag, P1s, those are my absolute must be done today tasks. Record these YouTube videos. But I also use the P2 and P3 flags to denote the time of day that I want to do a task. This means that my today list is shown in the order in which I want to do the task. Now, that's just a rough guideline. There are occasions when I cannot do a morning task and it's the afternoon and so on. But it does help to give my task manager some structure. But if you do use a digital task manager that allows you more than 1 flag, for instance, Asana I know allows you to do this, be very clear about what you're using the other flags for. Maintain 1 as your absolute must be done today. And then the other 2 or 3, however many flags they give you, choose what you're going to use for. As in my case, I use them for morning and afternoon, and the white flag is for evening tasks. That helps me just to keep my day structured. But have a very clear, specific use for it. You could use them, for instance, like anything that's flagged as a flag 2, if you like, that is a communication task. You can categorize your work if you wish using those kind of flags. But be very specific about what you're using the additional flags for. Now, the piece de resistance to doing this is actually to use pen and paper. Digital task managers are superb at collecting stuff, probably a lot more stuff than we really do need to collecting there. Paper gives you an opportunity to actually get focused. Now, you don't have to do this. You can continue to use your total digital system. With the digital system, though, you do need to be curating it every day anyway. The most effective way I've found of really highlighting the most important tasks for the day is to use what I call the A7 flip notebook. Now, this is just a small, tiny notebook that stays on your desk. And what you do is you write the date at the top, and then you write your 2 must-do tasks underneath that. That's it. That's all you do. Now, you leave that on your table all day. Now, the thing is, every time you look at that, you're going to be reminded about what needs to be done today. You cannot forget it. It's right in front of you. Now, for those of you who've taken my hybrid productivity course, you will be using something like this, which is called a day book. Now, your day book gives you an opportunity to write down your most important task up here at the top, your appointments there. So you've got a perfect daily planning sequence pre-engineered, if you like, into your day book. A superb way of being able to get really focused on what is important today. Now, those are just optional. You don't have to do them, but they are superb ways of getting yourself focused on what's important. And because you're handwriting them down every day, you're not putting anything overdue. If you don't do something today, you haven't crossed something out, you can then move it to the next day, or you can just eliminate it altogether, which really is, to me, the goal. Eliminate, don't accumulate. But that's just a few things that I wanted to cover today, because I know so many people have got overdue flagged tasks in their task manager, and I know you have. And if you have that, then it means that your flags are not working. Remember, the two things that you must respect in any productivity system are your calendar of appointments. Those need to be respected, and your flagged tasks. The key here is use the flags sparingly, so that you are not overdoing it and that you are completing them as consistently as possible. Remember, life gets in the way. There are going to be days when you cannot complete those tasks, but the goal is to complete those tasks today. Now, if you want to learn a little bit more about this whole paper setup that I do have, then this video up here will be the one to watch next.